You're all set, Mayor Rema.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Council. Thank you for attending our August 23rd meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll remind everyone to please disclose of any pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. And we'll go right down to the minutes of the previous council meeting of July 26th. We need a mover and a seconder for those minutes. Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor White. Thank you. Any questions, errors, or omissions on those minutes? All in favor? That is carried and those are filed. We have no business arising from the previous minutes. And we'll go down to scheduled meetings and events. There is a proposed special meeting of council to present the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And if I know our CAO, she will have other items on that agenda as well at some point. So we need a motion to get that meeting set up. That's moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Westgate. Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. We are excited to see that master plan. We will go on to councillors' commitments and items. Does anybody have any commitments that they'd like to add? Councillor White. You are muted, Councillor White.
Sorry about that. This weekend, I'll be away from the 28th till September 1st.
All right. Councillor Westgate.
September 4th to the 7th. And then another one at the end of September, but I'm not sure of the dates yet.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have a good September.
I'm away 3/4 of September.
That's good.
I come home for a week of the whole week.
Councillor Morris, you have
Yes, this is next year though, mind you. March 17th till April 2nd.
good for you. All right. We will go on to councillors' items. I'm going to start with Councillor Westgate tonight.
I really have nothing unless we're not going to talk about the arena, the progress there. I'm just starting to worry about Silver Stick. Or have they said when we're going to get open?
I believe we are going to talk about that later on in the agenda.
That's good then.
It is, yeah,
I'll
it is
leave
being
that for
covered
that.
later on. Okay. Anything else tonight?
No.
Okay. Councillor White.
Nothing from me. Nope.
Great. And Councillor Morris?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have quite a few. I've got more calls in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 3 months. Couple for Andrew. Now, these are just questions. Why is there no traffic lines on Churchill from Nauvoo to Sexton?
That portion, Nauvoo to Sexton. So that portion of Churchill is maintained by Brooke Almston.
Brooke, I wondered that because they were cutting the grass and they weren't our guys because it wasn't near as good job.
Yep.
The other question is, I called in Amanda about a potential water leak at the Catholic school. Did you, any result from that?
Yeah, we're in the middle of the investigation there. So
Okay.
we've had the sewer laterals. Actually, we believe it's coming from the sewer lateral. So
Okay.
it's been cameraed. So we're in the process of
All
investigation.
right. Unfortunately, the rest of them are parked and wrecked, and the calls I got were not pleasant. I guess there was a near miss of people falling off the bleachers. There's no handrails on the bleachers. There used to be on the other sets, but I guess a few people and kids almost went off. I'd like to know why there isn't and when we can get them on.
I remember asking about that when I was on council, and it was well before Teresa was with us, and I believe it was I can't remember. Jerry, can you remember? or sorry, Councillor Westgate, do you remember, or Councillor White, why we didn't go ahead with that?
I can't remember, no.
Like, the building code says there has to be railings on anything about 22 inches. I just don't understand why they're not on there. I think we need to get them on soon, ASAP.
Amanda, do you want to speak to that?
Only to say that, Councillor Morris, this is the first time I've heard this concern. And I do know that when we ordered the bleachers, again, prior to Teresa's time with us, that was the standard that was set at that time by our staff team. But the answers as to why, I can't speak to, but based on your comments, we absolutely can follow up with that and look into it and see what can be done.
Thank you. The other one I had was regarding the ballpark lights. I got a complaint that on Saturday of Corn Fest, they were on till 2 o'clock in the morning. This person was not happy. Do we know why, or what is our policy or protocol for shutting these lights off?
I can answer that one, Councillor Morris. That's the first I've heard of the lights being on till 2 a.m. on that weekend. And we do, there are folks there, either the ball team or the Optimist Club, that turn them off after the last game. So I can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the other one, I had about a dozen calls, and this was about the ballpark booth. Why it isn't in full operation. I got a lot of comments on, like, look, you've had a year with COVID with nobody using that booth. Why is it not up and open and ready? And I don't know how to answer it, Teresa.
Yeah, and that's totally my responsibility. It's basically the number of projects and priority of projects, but they are operational fully by cooking outside, and we've got everything ready to go. We're just waiting on a few pieces of information from the concession folks who've been in touch with me, and it'll be completed at that time.
Do you have any idea on a date when I can tell them that it'll be operational fully?
I'll know more once I speak, once I get the follow-up on the electrical requirements from the concessionaire.
Okay.
They have had a busy couple weeks, and then we'll know overall what electrical is required. Everything else is built and ready to go.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of things. As council knows, I did have online AMO conference this past week, like last week. And so we did have 3 delegations that we were approved for. The first one was with Minister Sam Oosterhoff, the parliamentary assistant for the Ministry of Education, on the reopening of the schools in the fall. So we had a good conversation there, and I met with the Amanda and I met with the Minister of Energy, the Honorable Todd Smith, about expanding natural gas to Warwick. It wasn't a positive meeting, I guess, to say that there wasn't any real hope in getting a 3rd phase of that funding, but we'll see how things go. I think the way the program was set up, where they allowed them to take so much money, $1 a month from each existing customer, was a great idea. And so hopefully that will continue, but there was no promises made at that point. And we also met with the Honorable Carolyn Mulroney, Minister of Transportation, to discuss the off-ramp of the 402 coming west, or like going west. And we had a good meeting with her. They had already done the counts, but they did recognize when they did the initial counts that it was during COVID. And so the numbers would be skewed. So they did put up a camera after, I believe, we requested the meeting. So they got right to it as soon as we requested the meeting. And they put up a camera at that area so that they could see I thought it was quite clever that they said, we know that it's not just about the number of vehicles, it's also what happens. And so they wanted to actually have the camera footage to be able to see like what's actually happening with the trucks coming off of there. And we advised her that there would be a traffic study done with the expansion project of waste management. So they were interested in receiving that data as soon as possible as well. So that was a very positive meeting. And the only other thing I had is that I had a ratepayer tell me how nice the streets looked now that the painting is done in the crosswalks, and it does really brighten everything up. It looks fantastic. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And we'll move on to staff items. Is there any staff items tonight? Nope. All right, we'll skip on past delegations. We have about 15 minutes there. Nothing in accounts, so we'll go on to non-action correspondence. Did anyone see anything that they wanted to highlight tonight? Councillor White.
I'd like to highlight 822, the town of Leamington and their joint and several liability. I think we should support that.
Is it different than the original one that we did support?
I don't know that it is, but it does give a little more examples on premiums that were being charged as for insurance rates, and it's going to the premier. So I think we should still support it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a mover for that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Anything else? All right, we do need a motion to receive and file the remainder of the correspondence. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. There's no action correspondence, so we're going to go on to staff reports. The first one is the current municipal service levels and COVID-19 impacts. We need a mover and a seconder to receive and file that report. Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor White. Thank you. And any questions or comments on that report? All in favor of receiving and filing that? That is carried. Thank you. We will go on to the ICIP grant green stream. There is a resolution, or yes, a recommendation from staff to apply for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program green stream funding to support the replacement of critical water main infrastructure in the township on Sunset Avenue, Warwick Street, St. Clair Street, and John Street. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Morris and Councillor Westgate. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll go on to Parks and Rec, Lambton County Development Services Sidewalk Cleaning Agreement. Glad to see that one's coming back. We need a mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Councillor White and Councillor Westgate. Thank you. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor? That is carried. Back onto Parks and Rec Tourism and Culture Master Plan. We that's just an update that we need to receive and file. So we need, thank you, Councillor White and Councillor Morris. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor of receiving and filing that report? That is carried. The ball diamond netting is up and running. I did notice that the last time I was at the ballpark. It looks great. And that is just a report outlining that that is done. We need a motion to receive and file that. Or did I get that wrong, Teresa?
There's also an update on the inquiry from council at the last meeting with regards to moving the Warwick netting over to Watford between Optimus Ball Diamond and the new Ball Diamond. And also an update on a previous report with regards to the challenges of putting protective netting up at Warwick Ball Diamond.
Okay. Councillor Morris?
I think with the Warwick Ball Diamond, we've done all we can until Ontario Hydro decides what they do, hopefully, like, I don't want to see anybody get hurt on that highway, but we've done all we can do for now until Ontario Hydro tells us what the okay is. As far as the netting to go up at between the two diamonds in Watford, I haven't seen it, so I'm looking for other councillors' opinions on it. Like, would a fence be better, or is the netting gonna work, Jerry?
Councillor Westgate, you're muted.
I don't see a fence would be high enough. You need a netting that's fairly high. I don't know whether we need one on each diamond to protect it, like one down the third base line, one down the first base line. To protect the ball, just stop the ball from going out of play into that walkway in between and onto the other diamond. That's something that they're gonna have to look at, maybe do something like they do at the back.
Should we go ahead and move it then now and get it over there? The Warwick one?
I didn't know we were moving it. Are we?
It's in the report there.
Oh,
Teresa?
sorry.
No, that's okay.
So basically, we've made the inquiry to the contractor to see if it's possible that we can move Warwick's current system that we cannot currently put up in Warwick because we're waiting for Hydro 1, and move it to Watford Ball Time.
I think it's a great idea if it will work.
I'm sorry, I missed that report. I see it here now.
It's all good.
I don't know how I did that.
I think it'd be a lot safer for our people that are using the diamond. I think that's our biggest concern.
If it'll work, it would at least stop the balls from one diamond going over.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing I think is having them come up to the stands or into the play of the other side, right? If it hits the net and falls in between the two, it's not as bad.
It was more the existing diamond down the first baseline. I think that's where we're going to get balls that go to the other diamond.
Yeah.
The ones on the new diamond probably would go to the outfield or not come back over the backstop to the new diamond. So if we put it along the old existing diamond, that would be the best spot, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So did we get a mover and a seconder for that? No, we did not. Thank you. Councillor White and Councillor Morris. Any other discussion? All in favor? That is carried. And we'll go on to F, which is the East Lambton Community Complex Construction Project, progress report. We need a mover and a seconder to receive and file that report. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Morris. Thank you. And questions or comments on that report? Councillor Westgate.
I see they got most of the foundations in, that's good. When is the steel coming?
This week.
This week?
Yeah, they're going to start steel. I think I put it on there, didn't I? I apologize
Didn't
if
see
I
that.
didn't.
So
But
we're
it is
looking at October 12th as the first day for ice rentals.
Yes, with making of ice starting October 4th.
What entrance are you going to use? Are you going to fix up?
We're working on that right now because one of the things is also we're considering COVID restrictions. And I just participated in a Zoom meeting on Friday. So we are working on the reopening plan for COVID for the arena. And the contractor's working with us on that.
Okay, the dressing rooms inside, I haven't been inside for quite a while. How far away are they? They're putting block up, I think, by the looks of it. See block layers in there.
Yeah. So they are, and but there is a possibility that when we open, we still may be at 3 dressing rooms plus the flex space. So we're working with users on that also. So for example, I've already had a discussion with the East Lambton Minor Hockey, and it would be scheduling their games in Brook Albinston as opposed to Watford.
And they could have practice in our diamond or in our arena
Yes.
and use dressing room washrooms.
Yep.
How far away are the washrooms, have they said?
Sorry, they're working on the mason work in there. So all the plumbing has been done. I just have to refer to this again. So the interior arena, underground plumbing's done, and the walls are going up. So right now, if I were to tell you what it looked like last week, it has the formation. I can definitely see washrooms, like the spaces and the plumbing fixture, like where the fixtures are gonna go and whatnot. And the walls going up. Yeah, it definitely is now. You can definitely see the different spaces that it's turning into.
So I have had members from the Silver Stick Committee asking if it's going to be ready for Silver Stick. Well, and
Silver
if
Stick.
it's not, we're in big trouble.
Silver Stick's in December. So
Yeah, first part of December this year. It's not going through Christmas and New Year. Or
yeah,
New
no, I know.
Year's. As long as the contractor understands that we need it.
Absolutely. We go through timelines every meeting, site meeting that we have. And even within those timelines, plan A, B, C. So just so you know, Councillor Westgate, we've already investigated opening the building with the current safety measures in place, the current fire system, and working with building officials. So we're way ahead of everything that we need to be concerned with for October.
Like they could have the sprinkler system going in that part, right?
No, we wouldn't be able to open it and with the sprinkler systems until the completion of the dressing rooms, but we can open it with the current fire system in place. That's what we're working on. And then it would be like a one-day changeover when everything's complete.
Amanda?
Just to add, Councillor Westgate and Teresa, thanks for those responses. But along your line of questioning, the municipality is doing everything. I want to reassure you that we can do to work with our contractor and our project manager to make sure that this project is ready on time for ice rentals following Thanksgiving. That is our goal. It has been very clearly communicated to our contractor many times. And as Teresa said, we're working on alternate plans should there need to be, not alternate plans for opening, but should anything go wrong, what are our options? So I just want to provide that reassurance in addition to Teresa's more detailed comments. And also, if you ever have questions sharing about the build, we can take them offline also from our council meeting. So feel free just to give us a call.
Okay.
Okay.
I hate to go up too much, but I think I am going to more.
Just a question about the COVID reopening. Do we have any word as to what that's going to look like as far as the hockey and skating and all of that?
I'm working on through step 3, which we're currently in, and we did receive notice towards the end of last week. Amanda can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the Premier's office did announce that they were not going to change anything anytime soon. The Zoom meeting I was on was with the Ontario Hockey Federation, and they have their protocols in place. And again, it's with respect to each public health, but I anticipate will be pretty similar to where we were the last time we had rentals.
limited viewing
Yeah.
and yeah, a lot of parents and grandparents have been asking. So
At this time, and I think the challenge is there's rinks that are opening right now, and because we're opening a little bit later, it's things could change by then, but I anticipate it'll be right as of right now, very similar to where we left off.
okay, thank you. Any more questions? Oh, thank you, Councillor Morris.
Yes, Teresa, so the men's hockey league will be able to start the Sunday after Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I put it in this report, it might be the Parks and Rec report, but all of the user groups have had the communication as to the timelines and expectations. Our primary users received an email first as to booking ice at Brook Elphinston with our agreement between the Fair Board, Brook Elphinston, and the Township of Warwick. And then following that a couple of weeks, all of our users received that information. And now as people are trying to book ice, they get that information as to what they need to do to book ice. And yeah, so we're keeping in close communication with them.
Okay.
Should
Thank
things
you.
change, we'll let them know.
Councillor Westgate.
On another subject, I should have brought this up in counselors' items. Minor hockey, they changed it so we don't have Ontario playdowns anymore. So that takes playoffs away from the arena. It's going to be one tournament in a bigger center. And that's really going to hurt our arena and our minor hockey because we're not going to have home games where they play the Ontario playdowns in Watford or in the area. I'm thinking that we should make, I don't know what we could do, whether we could send a resolution to somebody. I know Brian Juvenaville could give us the information on it if we contacted them and see who we could report to, because it really hurts the small towns and villages when you take all that, the playoffs away from us. And it hurts the kids too when they go to play a tournament in London or Toronto for the Ontario playdowns.
Mhm.
Most hockey players look forward to the Ontario playdowns.
I know it is so exciting when OMHA, when one of our teams makes it to those finals, the arena is packed. It's so exciting for those kids to go and play in front of their peers and their friends and their family. You're right. I think that would maybe be something that we could look into with Brian and see what we can do to get that, because I agree with you.
Why?
Mhm.
I was just hoping that we could look into it and see if, who is it, McKellar and Brian Juvenville that have been fighting this.
Yeah, Adam McKellar and Brian June. Yeah. I don't mind working with the two of them to try to, and maybe Councillor Westgate as well, and we can
Yes,
put something together, because I think you make a very good point.
it's not really a government thing for a resolution or anything, but it's something that should go to minor hockey or
It's
I don't
always-
know who else.
It's always good to have council's support behind the service club, so. That's definitely
And
something.
send other small municipalities to back us too.
Yeah. Yeah, because it affects all of the smaller arenas for sure. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll call the vote for that. To receive and file that, all in favor? That is carried. And it is 6:31, so we're gonna go back up into our agenda to the timed event, the delegations that we have, which is very exciting. We have the application for the draft plan of Subdivision Confederation Line Watford. So we're going to give our CAO a moment or two to allow all of our delegations in, and then we will get started. Hi, Ken, how are you?
I'm being blinded by the sun. Can you guys even see me?
Your
I may just turn my camera off.
shadow and light tonight.
I can barely see. It's quite bright out. So.
How are you tonight, Frank?
Great. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Is this everyone, Amanda? All right.
Yes,
then I'm
Mayor
gonna
Rambos,
turn-
everyone is in. Go ahead.
Awesome. I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Mellenson from the County of Lambton.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Mayor Rombouts and members of Warwick Council. Thanks for hosting us for tonight's information meeting. So as you mentioned, my name is Kev Wants and I'm the Manager of Planning and Development for the County of Lambton. Joining me on the line, just for the sake of taking minutes, is Terry Dewsbury, who is our planning technician. And I'm also going to be doing a presentation on this item. So I'm going to be performing two roles tonight, your planner and also overseeing the meeting. So I will just make sure that I can share. Excellent. One of the things I will say, since I'm going to do the presentation as well, this may flow a little bit differently than our previous meetings, but since I'm doing dual roles, but hopefully this works out okay. So let me just open this up if I can even see. There we go. So I just want to confirm, can you see that okay, Your Worship? Great. So I will skip the, there we go. So shown here, just before I get into it, actually, I'll just remind council that this is just a summary of information that you already have. So most of this information is already contained in the various attachments and the report, and it's just meant to provide a summary. So shown here is the subject parcel that has been acquired by Castle Homes. You can see that just above the existing, it is located just above the existing residential subdivision. If I can get my mouse to move down here. And it is adjacent to the commercial node at Nauvoo and Confederation line over here. The proposal is for 40 residential lots, 6 of which would be for semi-detached dwellings, while the remaining would be for 6 would be for semi-detached and the remaining for single detached dwellings. So here are some photos from the site looking straight on from the, I would call it the south side of Confederation line. You can see the required notice sign looking towards the east and to the west. And then just looking west down Confederation line. So this is the dwelling on the site that will be removed. Confederation line here. So the residential subdivision would be just off of the screen. And then once again, looking to the east down Confederation line, you can see one of the roads of the existing subdivision. And here's the commercial node that I mentioned with the Tim Hortons and everything just off in the distance. So shown here is in the pinkish color is the extent of the settlement boundary from the County of Lambton official plan. As you can see, the boundary of the settlement area follows a drain on the site and has an unusual shape. To that extent, the proposed subdivision falls into the settlement area. The remainder of the parcel, however, cannot be developed until that boundary is adjusted. So we're dealing with just the subdivision that will fall into this portion of the subject site. The remainder would remain undeveloped and agricultural until the boundary change occurs. The surrounding areas are generally zoned residential, agriculture, or industrial. I would note that council did have a rezoning application on this site to take it to R2, so our zoning has not yet caught up, which you approved at your April 12th meeting of this year. And that was to allow for different lot size requirements than the standard R2 zone. The holding symbol will remain on the site until servicing requirements with the township are satisfied, at which time the holding symbol can be removed and development commenced. Shown here is the configuration of the proposed subdivision. There are 3 new public roads, as you can see. My mouse would work. Here is 1, 2, and 3. Two of the roads would essentially be extensions of Sunset Avenue and John Street, while the third road, which is here, would be set up for connection to potential future phases. The existing dwelling on a portion of the site, which is noted here, will be removed. Noted on the current proposal is that the stormwater management pond would be located outside the extent of this subdivision. So you can see the boundary lines here. The pond is here. A condition requiring that it be included in the boundary of phase one has been proposed, as this needs to be done in order to ensure proper servicing if this is the only portion that ever develops. As noted in pages 2 and 3 of the information report, staff have conducted a review of the policies related to the provincial policy statement, the county and Warwick official plans. The proposal is supported by those policies, and so there is no issue with compliance to those planning documents. The lots are generally conforming to size requirements in the zoning bylaw. The details of that analysis are also found on page 2, and selected policy excerpts are included in attachment 3 of the report. I would note that one policy from the Warwick official plan was included in its entirety and has policies related to the Arkona portion of Warwick. Obviously, the Arkona policies don't apply since we're not in that area, but I included the whole policy just as I don't tend to take out sections, so just FYI. Also included for council's consideration are initial draft conditions for the proposal, if it were to be approved, and those are attached, those are included in attachment 5. I would note that these conditions will be updated following this meeting, subject to feedback from council and from citizens who participate this evening, and further refinement through discussions as we move towards a final decision. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to solicit feedback from the public and council on the proposal to help inform the decision-making process. It should be noted that the county acts as subdivision approval authority for all plans of subdivision within the county, with the exception of the city of Sarnia. So the feedback received tonight will inform any decision that's made on this application. I'd also note that the county cannot make a decision on this application for at least 14 days following this public meeting as per the Planning Act. And also I would note that this meeting was advertised on July the 14th through letters to adjacent owners and a sign posted on the site. Anyone who speaks at this public meeting, sent in written letters, or who signs up to receive the notice of decision via the county's planning department would have the right to appeal the decision of the approval authority. Anyone who has not signed up and wants to receive the notice of decision and does not plan to speak tonight will need to contact the county planning department to register to receive that decision. You can do that by email, by emailing planning@county-lambton.on.ca, and I'll repeat that address just before we conclude tonight's meeting. To close the staff presentation component, our recommendation for council when we get to the end of this process tonight would be to simply accept this report for information. This motion can be handled following the public meeting. So at this time, I'll conclude the staff presentation component and close off this presentation so I can see everybody. And I will ask if there are any questions of staff before we move into the public component. And you might need to give me a really good wave because my screen is completely washed out and I can't see anyone. Councillor
Morris.
Morris, thank you.
Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Just a quick question for Frank, I guess. Frank, I love your plan, but how do you get into the back 40? Farmland.
If I could, Councillor Morris, perhaps we're going to have a portion. Sorry to cut you off, Mr. Calvary. The applicant will have a chance to actually, I believe, if I look at if I can read my sheet with the sun blind out, the applicant is next. So if you could hold that question on, that would be great. I'm just seeking questions for staff at this point. So, and don't worry, if you don't think of any right now, we will come back and do another round just before we close things out. So I am not seeing anything. So what I will do is now turn it over to the applicant. If they wish to make a presentation or a statement or anything, go ahead.
Sorry, do you want to repeat your question, Councillor?
Yeah, Frank, I was wondering, how do you get to the farmland behind the subdivision? once this subdivision goes through?
Well, we'll have to use the public road, I believe, or access through the adjacent lands. Depends on who's, I guess, going to be farming that portion, or.
Well,
Yes,
so
we-
you'll go up the new section of John Street or the new section of Sunset
Yeah.
onto the farmland? Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Counselor. Frank, did you want to say anything in addition to what we've already heard or anything like that?
Well, all I want to say is that we're planning on the streets to continue through to future phases. Obviously, that's our long-term goal. So we are going to accommodate that in this phase, and that's what I think you guys see on the site plans. And that's pretty much it. I think I've I guess Phil and I from Lambton County have determined that the zoning was proper for the price point that we want to be in, as long and as well as the flexibility on larger lots down the road if that's what demand is. So we have the flexibility on all of that going forward with that zoning, and obviously in future phases we would like to continue that zoning through if that's what is being asked of the customers, I guess, the end users. So that's pretty much it.
Great, thank you very much. I'll ask council if there are any other questions to the applicant. And yet again, if you don't have any now, we'll have another round near the end of the meeting. Go ahead, Mayor Rombouts.
Yeah, I just had a comment that I really like the setup of this. I like that there is some really affordable options for people, because I think that, and as far as the county is concerned particularly, that we need affordable housing, and there's a lot of young people who would love to buy a house but just can't afford it at that higher price point. So I appreciate that you have taken that into consideration in this plan.
Yeah, we pretty much we're looking at what they were doing in Wyoming, which is a stone throw away, I guess. And they had great success out there. I see what we're doing in Mount Bridges with the same size lots, great success. London is quickly turning to smaller lots, again, for keeping the price points down, and jamming in more houses into sites and more densification, I guess. And I think going forward, for the town itself, I think that lot size would provide us with more affordable housing for the majority of the purchasers out there. And we do have options along the pond too that are a little bit larger. So if people want a little bit larger home or just a little bit more space, we have that option as well. So, and the semis obviously are the biggest. They'll be the first to go because they'll be in the lowest price point, and you get that nice mix. So that was exactly what we were trying to accomplish with that zoning, and it worked out well. So, yep.
Great, thank you. I will ask one more time if there are any more questions of council to the applicant. Okay, I'm not seeing any, although I'm hearing a lot of construction equipment, so hopefully that's not translating on the audio. Thank you, Frank. We may come back to you if there are questions later on, but at this point, I'll open the public component of the meeting. So just to make it easier for us, if you are here on the meeting and wish to participate, the easiest way is to turn your camera on so I can identify you. And then that way I can see you, and then we'll start a list. If you are on the phone, what we'll do is once we get through everyone who's on here with a camera, I'll then cue a phone, anyone who might be on the phone, and we'll go from there. So Pat, I see you have your camera on. Please go ahead and ask your questions or make your comments.
Well, yes, my question is for down the road, like when this is actually going into construction, and that Confederation is a very busy road, and I just live on Sunset, just a few houses down. how is the traffic and the dirt and the mud and everything that's going to be on that road, along with all the farm equipment and everything else? How's that going to be managed?
So one of the, maybe I'll start and then the applicant can jump in. One of the things that we've started implementing as part of new subdivision approvals is a construction site management plan. And it would actually require the applicant to draw up a plan to deal with things like ensuring that mud doesn't get tracked onto the county's road, and how if there would be a road closure, that would be dealt with through the county's transportation department in terms of, would you have, signage up or a flag person or things like that. So the standard condition of our construction site management plan is included in the proposed conditions. That'll deal with dust and migrating of mud. I'm not sure, Frank, if you wanted to add anything else related to construction.
Yeah, so typically what would happen is we'd have street sweeping on a weekly basis to keep the dust down. And, we are on the edge of a field, which, wind is probably a little bit more than we generally get in adjacent to another subdivision or sandwiched in or an infill property. But so what we would do is just try to manage that with a lot of the mud on the roads with street sweeping and silt fencing and proper garbage bins, because garbage can fly around all over the place. And all that we would ask is, if it was a concern, if anything, our phone number will be plastered everywhere. You just give us a call and we'll deal with it as we can.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's pretty typical, in these new sites.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question. Did you have any others, or?
Can I ask a couple other ones? Because there's not construction, but the corner is very busy. I know this doesn't refer to that subdivision, but it's only going to increase the traffic at the corner of Nauvoo and Confederation. Is that being considered in this as well?
So the applicant was required to submit a transportation impact study. And what the study showed was that there would be some increase in traffic, but not enough that it would cause a degradation in service. Now, I'm not a transportation engineer by any means, and I'm not going to go into the technicalities of the study, because that's not something that I can get into. But I will say that they did submit that study. The county is okay. I'm not sure, Andrew, if you might be able to speak to it from the town's perspective, if at all, but.
Yeah, I can just echo that the township engineer, they've reviewed it and echo the same comments, that there won't be a major impact at that intersection with the amount of homes that are generated with this phase.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public that would want to ask a question that's on video? Please turn your camera on and give us a wave. I am not seeing anything. If there's anyone on the phone that wants to unmute, please say your name and maybe ask your question. Well, I'm not hearing any, so I'll ask one more time if there's anyone from the public that wants to ask a question, be it video or phone. Okay, well, I would like to thank everyone from the public that participated and submitted comments, and these comments will be included in our review of the application. I'm going to close the public component of this meeting, but I will go back to council and see if council has any further questions of staff or the applicant. Give a little wave and we'll see if there are any questions. Mayor Rombouts, go ahead.
Just a comment that everyone that I've spoken to in the community is highly in supportive of this. I think quite a few people are excited to see those houses start. So yeah, just a lot of support towards this.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments or questions from council? Well, I'll take that as no, and so I'll thank the applicant for being here this evening. I'll thank you, council members, for your comments and questions. We have reached the end of our meeting this evening. So I will mention, as I did before, that the county cannot render a decision for 14 days as per the Planning Act. The county will take all of the comments and concerns that we received this evening into consideration when making our decision. And if you would like a copy of the notice of decision, once again, you do need to register with the planning office at the county. Preferably, we'd like to have everyone registered by the end of this week. So the email address, once again, is planning@county-lambton.on.ca. And if you didn't get a chance to write that down but need the address, you can certainly call the county planning office. You can also call the township office. They'll get you in touch with us as well. And I will make a note that the notice will be sent out within 15 days of making the decision as per the Planning Act. So that concludes our public meeting component for tonight's Warwick Council meeting. I'll turn it back to Mayor Rombouts for the motion, and thank you, Council, for hosting us.
Thank you so much, Ken. You did a fantastic job, and we look forward to hearing your final decision. Have a great night.
Oh, I think we just need you to do the motion for
Thank you. Yes, we need a motion to receive and file that. Councillor White and Councillor Mitchell, all in favor. That is carried. Thank you again. Fantastic presentation.
Thanks so much. Have a great evening.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, Council, we are going to go back down on our agenda to the Public Works update for August 2021. We need a mover and a seconder to receive and file that report. Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Thank you. Any questions or comments on that report? Councillor Mitchell.
Just wanted to thank Andrew for 95 of 2021, the speed limit reduction on Victoria and Centennial. Received a lot of good positive feedback on both of those decisions, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Councillor Morris. You are muted, Councillor Morris.
Andrew, your new boom cutter for doing the side roads is doing an excellent job. I don't know who was running it, but they did a superior job. I was very impressed. Thank you.
I'll pass it on to the staff. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'm not sure if everyone got a chance to watch the Laws Water Master Plan update, and it was a little bit over my head. I don't know about the rest of you. It was wondering if, Andrew, you could just give us a quick little synopsis of that, just the Coles Note version of what you think of that master plan and kind of the future of that.
Sure. Yeah, just a quick update. Hopefully everybody had a chance to have a look at that, but essentially, the plan is coming together quickly, and they will be addressing Warwick's concerns with our low water pressure in areas and accommodate for future growth for the next 20 years. So they are being addressed. We're fairly far in the process. I believe we're waiting for feedback from any councillors if they have any questions or concerns with regards to the current update that Laws had the consultant do for everyone. Once they receive the feedback, it's got to go through some environmental approvals, and then we're going to be looking to have the work put in place so we can get some improvements. So it's exciting stuff. Exciting stuff for Warwick.
It is. Yes, I know when I first got on the Laws Board, that was one of the big things that we were pushing for, is to get a master plan done and a plan for the future and for future growth. So it's good to see that that's transpiring. Councillor Westgate, did you have a question?
Yeah, I think it's very good. The pump station should help the pressure a lot. But I think when they do replace the line along Confed, we should be looking for a bigger line.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe we should start pushing that sooner than later.
I agree as well.
Andrew, do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I believe, yeah, Clinton answered, I think, that question. So they'll be looking at that as part of their asset management and when it needs to be replaced. I think he did commit to looking at it. I don't know about a size change. I think with what they've recommended does make some vast improvements with increase in pressures. So I don't know exactly what they would replace it with if and when it needs replacing, but what they're doing now is should have a huge impact on the pressures and the ability to get water to us.
Excellent. Councillor Morris.
Yeah, Andrew, the maps were pretty up there, pretty quick and hard to read a little bit. Did I take it right that the line for Alvingston comes off the 4-inch line?
It's not a 4-inch line, no. The one that goes
at Underpass Road?
Yep, that is a 14-inch, I believe. It's either a 12 or a 14. I'd have to double check, but it's definitely a big line. We just dug it up actually 2 weeks ago.
So does it come down underpass from Zion then?
The connection point would be Confed.
But Confed's only a little line, isn't it?
That one, I'd have to double check and get back to you.
Like I thought Confed was the original line to Watford. It was just like a 4-inch or 6-inch, maybe. I don't know for the size. But I was surprised that Alvingston tie-off came on a bit and not the new header that comes down Zion.
I know we're tied into a bigger line than 4 inches at our business.
Well, anyway, yeah, maybe you could look into it for us.
Yep, I can look into it, but I know it's either a 12 or a 14 that goes to Alvingston.
Yeah, I think it's 18 that comes into Watford myself, but it's a big line. Yeah.
Councillor Westgate.
I'm pretty sure they tied that line to Alvingston in out there so it wouldn't lower the water pressure in Watford. That was done, what, 10 years or 15 years ago now?
Okay. Any other questions on any of those reports? All in favor of receiving and filing? That is carried. Thank you very much, Andrew. We'll go on to committee and other minutes. There's the minutes of the special council meeting of August 16th, 2021. We need a mover and a seconder for that, to receive and file that. Councillor White and Councillor Morris, all in favor? Sorry, is there any questions? All in favor. Thank you. And we have no new business, so we need a motion to move in camera for the reasons listed on the agenda. Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That is carried. And to all of the people joining us from the public, we appreciate you watching tonight, and we will not be coming back online just to close out the meeting.